Hi guys, political commentator and podcaster Marina Purkiss held Nick Ferrari's feet to the fire when she appeared on his show. Now, she criticised his two-tiered approach to interviewing politicians. For example, when it comes to Nigel Farage and Boris Johnson, he treats them like friends, but he tries to grill and get gotcha questions in when it comes to, for example, Labour MPs. This was wonderful. Have a listen.
It's a non-story, but we know that you turn into an investigative journalist, Nick, with a moral compass when it's someone on the opposite side. Because I didn't see.
I'm happy to expose everybody if I get the chance.
Well, see, Nick, I don't recall you asking Rishi Sunak to be very open with his blind trust. I don't recall you asking Boris Johnson to publish every single receipt.
I asked him how many children he had. I asked him how many children he had.
Okay, that's not what I'm asking.
Oh, right.
What about asking Farage when you have him on for a little belly tickle, who bankrolls him, or asking Richard Tice about his offshore trusts?
I've asked Mr. Tice about the latter of those two. I hope your listeners can see this for what it is. This is the media class, including yourself, telling working class people, especially a woman, especially a northern one, to stay in their lane. I cannot believe you don't see any hypocrisy here, Marina.
Okay, tell me where the hypocrisy is. Let's discuss that.
This is someone who is a lawmaker who has legally, weeks prior to buying a flat in Hove, shifted what we understand to be her prime residence from her constituency home to avoid paying £40,000. Now,
okay, so let's agree.
And it's nothing to do with the fact she's a woman. If it was Ed Miliband, I would do the same.
Right? Nick, did you ever tell your listeners the second home premium tax was Rishi
written by the
Sunak's
Conservatives?
policy?
Yes, I did.
Yes, under Boris Johnson's level.
And endorsed by this government.
I started out very working class, right? And I'm all for the working class doing well for themselves.
Absolutely.
And buying their properties,
Absolutely.
Right? So why are you putting a cap on her ambition?
Okay, so I'm not going to get into what Angela Rayner did. I'm more interested in what Nick Ferrari does when it comes to politicians like Boris Johnson and Nigel Farage. His response to Boris Johnson was, I asked how many kids he had. Now, does he honestly believe that the public care how many kids Boris Johnson has? Honestly, as opposed to what Boris Johnson was doing as Prime Minister. What Boris Johnson was doing as Foreign Secretary, what Boris Johnson was doing as an MP. What was he doing? What were his policies? What was he doing that was going to impact the lives of ordinary people? Normal people, working class people, middle class people even. He wasn't asking those questions. He wasn't asking about corruption within the Conservative Party. He was asking about how many kids Boris Johnson had. When it comes to Nigel Farage, it's pretty much the same thing. Nigel, my friend, how are you going to stop the boats? Should we leave the ECHR? Should we? He actually provides options, provides answers to Farage, and then Farage only has to pick which one he likes best. And then, of course, there's no pushback. There's no true grilling. Now, if you compare that with a Labour MP or a Labour minister who comes on, Farage likes his, I've asked you the same question 25 times. Now, he's done it with a few Tories as well, but he won't do it with Nigel Farage. He won't do it with Boris Johnson. He won't do it with friends of his. He's not a proper journalist. A proper journalist is supposed to disconnect themselves from the people they're interviewing. He can be friends with Nigel Farage, but he has to put that in a box and say, now, Nigel, I'm going to grill you because you are a politician and I'm a journalist. But that never happens when it comes to Nick Ferrari. Farage is brought on, treated like a friend. They have a laugh together. There's no grilling. There's a bit of banter maybe, and that's about it. But whenever a Labour politician or a Green politician or somebody else from another party comes on that's not a friend of Nick Ferrari, they get a grilling. And not even a proper grilling. It's a gotcha question. Oh, why don't you know all this information? Why don't you have this brief with you? And sometimes these questions are legitimate. But it's a massive contrast. So this is why I've said before that Farage will go on Nick Ferrari's show before he'll go on James O'Brien's show. Because he'll be treated like a friend. He'll have his belly tickled. The same with Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson would prefer to do interviews with Nick Ferrari than any other politician because he knows he will not be challenged. It'll be a bit of a chin wag, and that's all it will become. The worst about all of this is that Nick Ferrari is paid huge amounts of money more than the Prime Minister, to do a job of journalism, and he doesn't do it. Can you imagine any other job in the world where you're paid a huge amount of money to do a job and then you don't do it, and every year it increases? So Marina was right to call this out. I think it's one of the first people on his show that's actually called him out, who's not just a regular caller phoning in. It's actually a guest. Is it going to make any difference? No, because LBC has decided Nick Ferrari is an asset. We're more interested in clicks and likes than proper journalism, at least when it comes to Nick Ferrari. There are people on LBC who are much better, who understand journalism, who understand that you need to challenge people like Farage and Boris Johnson and others. But they're not at the top level. Ferrari is. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. I'll see you in the next video.